Hi there, welcome to 9th and 10th channel of BYJU'S. I'm your teacher Ankita and I welcome you all in today's very special class where we'll be discussing about how to write the answers in SST. Now it's a very important question. I'm sure all of you would be asking your teachers and of course to us also. So we thought why not come up with an interesting and super important session. So please make sure to stay with us till the end because we'll be discussing about the important tips and tricks that will be helping all of you to write your answers in SST perfectly, I would say. And if you're new here, please make sure to stay with us till the end and subscribe to the channel. On that note, let's get started. So there are times I'm sure all of you would have faced some similar kind of situation when you're thinking that I wrote everything in the answer, but still my marks are not that enough, right? Oh, I don't know why I wrote everything in 3 marks question, but I didn't get 3 marks. And there are times when we feel that, yes, everything is there perfectly in our head. We know what happened and how we have to write it. But ultimately, when it's time for us to write, we don't know what to write first, what should be the flow of the answer. So in today's session, we'll be discussing about that. So let's get started. So here are the important things that we all should remember while writing the answer. And the first and the most important is to understand the question. Now, understanding the question becomes really very important. If you understand the question, if you understand what the question is asking from, we'll be able to frame our answer or we know that what we have to write. For example, if we have a question, right, describe the process of unification of Italy or write about the different types of soils that we have or what is power sharing. So we understand the question first. We understand what the question is asking. Once we have that, comes a second very important point is to plan your answer. Now, how we can plan our answer? We can plan our answer in such a way that what we'll be writing in the introduction, what will be our main points, and what will be the conclusion. For example, we all know if it's for a 1 mark, we'll just write simple 1 word or maybe a 1 sentence. If we have 2 marks, if we have 2 marks question, we'll be writing 3 to 4 lines. And if we have a 3 marks question, then this becomes very important. So for the question for 3 marks and for 5 marks, we will be following this important method. For example, you'll be looking at the introduction. Okay, this is my introduction. For example, the question asks, write the unification of Italy. So you'll be writing about the introduction. Italy was divided into different states. Only one state was there with the king and so on so points. And then from there, you'll be writing about the main points, about the 3 important leaders. And you will conclude that how the Victor Emmanuel II became the king. So this is how the flow of the answer will be. So you got the understanding of the question. You got to know that what we'll be writing in different parts. And once you're done, then of course while writing the answer, please use historical facts. Connect the timeline and write data. The dates are important in history, in geography, in economics. The numbers become super important. The percentage becomes really very important. And then when we're talking about the pol science side, of course, there also if we have percentage of the parties, talking about the percentage of the people, population, all of these points become really very important. So whenever we are writing the answer in SST, please make sure to use these data points in any or all of these subjects, be it the history, geography, economics, or the pol science. So these facts, these data, these timeline actually help the examiner to understand that you have the clarity about the information that you're writing. So this becomes really very important. Now, 4th point is something that is very practical, and that is, of course, is in your hand, and that is to practice time management. Now, it's not the case just when you're writing the answer at your home, or it's there in the examination also. Specifically, we're talking about the examination, but when you're writing the answer in the, when you're practicing at home also, this becomes really very important. For example, you all know that for 2 marks, right, you have to write 4 lines. So ideally, you should not be spending more than 2 to 3 minutes on 2 marks question. And if you have a 5 marks question, it's kind of understood that you'll be spending more time over there. So, time becomes really very important factor for you to just keep in mind. Before your examination, I'm sure all of you will be practicing the answers, right? That's a very good thing that all of us should be doing before the examinations. When you're doing that, look for the time, that how much time you're spending on each question. That's a very important point. And last point, which is really very interesting, which we usually follow during the examination, And of course, we should be doing when we're revising also is to proofread the answer. Now, there are times when we'll write everything and we're like, it's perfectly fine. We don't have to proofread, but it's really very important for us to read again once we are done writing it, because there are times we might have missed some words, or it could be that we have shuffled the words, or it could be that you have forgotten a very important point. So, when you're proofreading it, you can actually add that point later and you will be relaxed that you have written all the important points in the answer. And revising it actually helps us to understand that whether everything is there or not. So if we look over here, we have discussed that how we can write the answer. Starting from understanding the question, planning your answer, using historical facts and correct data points and the timeline. Then of course, practicing the time management during the writing of the answer. And fifth, the most important, proofreading and revising it. Apart from all of this, is one thing that we all should be doing is that practice. We know that practice makes all of us perfect. If we practice again and again, we will be mastering this. Now that we have the understanding that, what are the things you should remember while writing, let's take an example. So here everyone, please make sure to stay with us. This is a really very important thing. What we have over here, we have an example of a question. Briefly describe the process of German unification. So here we have a question of 3 marks. It's from the previous year paper. The question is really very simple. Briefly, in short, we have to describe what are the steps that happens in the process of German unification. So the question is really very straightforward for 3 marks. Let's see how we can approach it. The second thing, the plan your answer, we have introduction, main points and the conclusion. So what we have over here? First, of course, we'll talk about the introduction. So the introduction goes back into the 1848, right? When the liberal middle class, right, they went to the Persian king and they requested for the constitution, right? They raised a request that I think Germany should be a nation, right? But of course, it was rejected. So we'll be starting from here, the introduction of that. Then comes the main important point. Now the main points will be based upon the leadership of the Russia. So Russia took the initiative for the unification of Germany. Then we'll be mentioning about the Chief Minister Bismarck, how many wars he fought, against which nation he fought the wars, right? And ultimately, of course, what we have as a result. So in the main points, we have this part and the 3 wars part, and ultimately at the end we have the conclusion, which is the unification of Germany. So if you look at it, there's introduction, main points and the conclusion. Now let's see how we can add on these points. Over here we have some explanation slide. For you can take a screenshot. We have just discussed that what are the important points that we have. So just for a better understanding, we'll be writing about the middle class, how they came together, how they formed the constitution, and how they went to the king asking for the unification. But he said no. Later, of course, we saw that a lot of things changed and Persia wanted the Germany to get united. We have a role of Bismarck over there. Many wars were fought and ultimately we know that we saw the unification of Germany. Then over here we have the answer. So I'll just move aside. You can take a screenshot of it over here. Now if you look at this answer, the question is for 3 marks. And over here we have 5 points. So these points will justify that, these are the important points that we have covered. Introduction, maybe we have the German middle class people coming together, unified, all the German state. Then the proposal got rejected. Then the Persia took the initiative. We have the Chief Minister Bismarck who took the responsibility. He was the architect of unification of Germany. Then of course the Persia fought 7 years long war with 3 different nations, Austria, Denmark and France. 3 different wars were fought. And at the end we saw on 18 January 1871, Kaiser William I became the emperor of the unified empire of Germany. So 5 important points, and this is how we have covered up all the important points and we have the answer. So I hope that all of you have the understanding that, how to write the answer in the SST. Just in case if you struggle, please do not give up, because as I mentioned earlier, practice will be making us perfect. So practice more and more, read the content, understand that what are the important points that you have to write in the examination. Look at the marks of the question, 3 marks, 5 marks, we'll be focusing over there more, and then plan accordingly and then write the answer. I hope that all of you got the understanding that how you should be writing the answer. If you have any other suggestions, if you want any other doubts, do write in the comment section and do tell us. We'll be reading them and we'll be coming up with this session also. So please make sure everyone to stay with us. And as we all say, we have got you covered. And if you're new here, do take a moment and subscribe to the channel. And if you're already there with us, please make sure to share this video with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't already, and please make sure to hit the like button for the video. We'll be coming up with other important sessions that are focusing on the examination. So please make sure to subscribe to the channel. And on that note, I'll say bye-bye. Do take care of yourself and keep on learning with BYJU'S.